was an amazing trip to Thailand. And not only was it beautiful, delicious, and fun, but I also learned a lot along the way. But even though this past week it's been back to old clothes and porridge, that was probably the best winter vacation we've ever had. We were in Thailand again for New Year's this year, and this time it was really amazing. Now, I say this time it was amazing because you might recall that last year when we went, we were plagued with all kinds of airplane troubles. And so we really only had like 48 hours in Thailand last year. I talked about all that in episode 71 of the show, and I'll include a link to that episode in the show notes. But this year, all our flights and connections were super smooth. We had not one delay, not one lost suitcase, zero problems. Way better than last year. We flew Thai Airways, which was very nice, very good service all the way around. And this time, we had an actual week in Thailand. We were in Bangkok for 2 nights and Koh Phangan for 3. And not only was everything just beautiful, delicious, and amazing, but again, I learned a lot along the way. I always find that these kinds of family trips, there's a bit of introspection mixed in with all the adventure, you know? And one more thing before I get going. The title of this episode, Off Base, I'm going to use that from now on to indicate a show that is not about cycling or Hokkaido. They don't happen often, but when they do, I'd like to be clear to you listeners that before you click on, it's going to be a kind of one-off episode about something that I think is interesting, that is outside the show's normal purview. But I don't think any of you out there will mind. It's good to mix things up from time to time, right? So, first, we arrive in Bangkok, meet up with my friend who was on the trip with us, the same Aussie friend as last year. Our flights arrived like 10 minutes apart at Bangkok's, now forgive me, I'm going to get some pronunciation wrong in this. Our flights arrived like 10 minutes apart at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport. We had a direct flight from Hokkaido, by the way, which is always really, really nice anytime you're able to do that. The Aussie had, obviously some connections coming from Australia. Right, he lives in Canberra, but I think he had to go from Sydney then to Bangkok. But anyway, kind of amazing that our flights landed within 10 minutes of each other like that in Bangkok. So that was really cool. But anyway, so we meet up at the Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport and get a taxi to our hotel. And wow, driving through Bangkok was so much different than driving through a major city like, say, Tokyo. Now, okay, Bangkok and Tokyo, these are both obviously major metropolitan centers, but drivers in Tokyo tend to follow the rules. Sure, there were red lights in Bangkok, but I'm not sure if there were any other rules that people followed at all. I mean, people were flying in and out of traffic on scooters. Many people were not wearing any helmets while on said scooters. Merging in and out of lanes seemed very precarious. There were workers heading home from work, just hanging out in the back of pickup trucks on major highways. And, all the while, our taxi driver was just happily chatting away in broken English. Great fun. So, it's a real experience being in traffic in Bangkok, eh? So, we get to the hotel. By the way, we stayed at the Shangri-La Bangkok, by the way. I know, folks. La-ti-da, eh? That is one gorgeous hotel, I tell you. Holy smokes, it was nice. And my wife and I, We were lucky enough to be up on the 21st floor with a beautiful view of the city and the Chao Phraya River. But so anyway, we get to the hotel, I shower up. I don't know about you guys, but I always gotta shower after a flight. I can't, I feel gross if I don't get a shower and after hitting the ground before going out and doing anything. Right? It's just a little quirk I have, right? But anyway, then we all head out looking for a place for dinner in Bangkok. And just right away, it is so different from Japan. Well, obviously, it's different from Japan. It's a different country. But I mean, the mix of run-down, abandoned buildings with modern skyscrapers and shopping malls next to each other was really interesting. Seeing such extreme ends of the spectrum of society side by side like that was interesting. Rich beside poor, modern beside traditional, all those societal contrasts you can think of, any contrast you can think of in society is just staring you right in the face in Bangkok. And you don't really see that in cities in Japan. You know, everything is pretty clean. Everybody is pretty much middle class. Bangkok just has a really different vibe from other major cities I've been to. And I know cities all over the world are having problems with poverty and homelessness, but I think encampments and poor versus rich areas are more clearly defined than they are in Bangkok. And, you know, you can obviously tell you've wandered into a poor neighborhood in Toronto. You know, you're in the business district or whatnot. It didn't really seem to be the same in Bangkok. And seeing it all right there, you know, and seeing some of the extreme poverty and beggars, you know, on the streets, it, as always does, it made me much more thankful for what we have, right? Sometimes you need a little reminder that your life is much, much better than so many others around the world. But right, so in the search for dinner, we found this beautiful rooftop restaurant called, again, pronunciation, Palate. Let's go with Palate Bangkok. This was a really cool place. It had like 7 different floors, and each floor had a different vibe. Like one floor had a pool table, you know, billiards. Another floor had live music that was being pumped through the whole building. Another floor looked more like a lounge. But we went right up to the rooftop. And no elevator, just stairs. And once we got there, you know, we asked if we could sit down. The waitress asked if we had a reservation. We said no. So she said we could sit at a table that clearly had a reserved marker on it. We were kind of confused at the start. We were like, no, wait. We do not have a reservation. But, well, anyway, at this cool place, Palate, Bangkok, I had my first pad thai and pina colada of the trip. An awesome dinner overlooking the rooftops of Bangkok. It was gorgeous. Somebody else at our table, I can't remember who, somebody else ordered caramel glazed pork. Oh my Lord. Somebody ordered a fried rice dish. There was some other noodles. The food in that, well, not just that restaurant, the food on the whole trip was incredible. And I loved how since we've been back, the Japanese contingent in my family have been telling their friends that Thai food really suits the Japanese palate. So it's always good when you hear your Japanese wife is happy with the food when traveling. I don't know how many of you out there have Japanese wives, but sometimes food can be a bit of a pickle when traveling abroad for them. But anyway, in Thailand, listen folks, take it from my Japanese side of the family, the food suits the Japanese tastes. But all right. So we were trying to figure out what we were going to do the next day. What would be the best way to see as much of Bangkok as possible within our limited time. And the Aussie hit upon the idea of doing a hidden Bangkok long tail boat tour. And my lord, it was worth it. So the next day from our hotel, we walked to the Sathorn Pier and asked for a tour. They said if we wanted it to be just the five of us, it would be 1,500 baht each. But if we joined a tour group, it would be 1,000 baht each. So we said, no worries, let's join the tour group. We paid our 1,000 baht each, and then we were promptly hustled into a private boat. Just the five of us. But yeah, I don't know. The workers at the dock, the workers at the boat company just kind of said, okay, hold on, sit down, wait till the group gets going. And then a couple of other people wearing the same company t-shirt scooped us up and chucked us in our own private boat. We were like, okay. It was at this point I was beginning to sense a really laid back approach to life in Bangkok. We had no reservation at the restaurant the night before. She sat us immediately at a table that clearly said reservations. Would you like to join the group tour? It's cheaper. Yes, please. Here you are, folks, your own private boat. Awesome. But having said all that about the laid-back approach to life, are the Thai people not just some of the friendliest people you've ever met? Holy smokes, that really is the land of smiles. They were so nice, so laid back. It was really cool. I guess it must be all the weed that gets smoked there. That is another thing, especially when you're on the islands. Holy smokes, the smell of weed, marijuana is just everywhere, isn't it? Man, oh man. It's ubiquitous. Wow, just a wild place. But anyway, the boat tour, right. What a great idea that long-tail boat tour was. We saw so much. We were along the Chao Phraya River, which translates to the River of Kings. We toured small waterways where locals are living all along the river. We stopped for drinks at what I highly suspect was our boat driver's friend's shop. We had old women in boats coming up and selling us stuff, saying things like, "Help me." Really pulling at the old heartstrings there, weren't they? Literally, help me. Along the boat tour, there were some sites that were just so exotic for me. There were banana trees, like, forgive me, folks, real live banana trees. It was so cool. There were monitor lizards were all over the place. That was really cool. The first time we saw one, I think one of the boys in the back of the boat, shouting up, "Dad, Dad, an alligator!" But no, monitors. But they got up to a really big size, eh? At one point, I thought they were, what did I think they were? Komodo dragons. Komodo dragons. I thought they were Komodo dragons, but no, monitors. Really, really cool. Then we also got to see a lot of the really, really big sights from the river. Of course, we saw Wat Arun, which is probably the most iconic riverside temple in Bangkok. Wat Arun translates to the Temple of Dawn. I don't know if you know it. It's got like one giant kind of pyramid-ish kind of shape in the middle with 4 spires around it in a square. It's a really iconic image of Bangkok. We got to see that. We got to see the King's House, the Grand Palace, I believe it's called. We got to see some riverside markets, of course, all along the river. There are kids playing. So that was really, and they're all, of course, all the people along the river are waving at us. We're waving back. It's this real fun thing that's going on. We got to see traditional canal life. What we saw Wat Pak Nam, which is the one temple with the giant Buddha along the water. Just absolutely gorgeous. Just beautiful, beautiful places. And I'm always a real sucker for traditional scenes and famous sightseeing places. I know a lot of people try to go off the beaten path, but I'm like, why? I want to see the big stuff. I want to see the big stuff. That's again, like I said, I'm kind of a sucker for that kind of stuff. This area of Bangkok with all the waterways and things is called the Venice of the East. And folks, the Venice of the East was just amazing. I mean, all those famous things were really awesome. But even just boating past normal people's houses with their laundry hung out to dry was interesting. All the lush greenery and calm waters, again, we don't have anything like that here in Hokkaido. So it was fascinating to see another part of Asia that was so different. Plus, it was close to about 30 degrees Celsius every day. And when we left Hokkaido, it was minus 11 degrees in the morning. So, not only the contrast in the weather, but what made that boat tour so interesting was again, talking about the contrasts that exist in Bangkok. And that was also fascinating to see along that river cruise, because you're cruising in front of river houses on stilts, backdropped with modern skyscrapers. I mean, how often do you get a chance to see scenery like that? It was just a beautiful experience. There were times when, the boat driver was just really giving it. We're moving real fast. There were times where he's, taking a super chill approach and letting us just soak everything in. The guy obviously knew the place like the back of his hand, because he knew exactly what obviously he was watching us as well, but I guess through so many years of guiding tourists through these places, he kind of knows what people want to see. And it was fascinating. If you ever get a chance to do a hidden Bangkok long-tail boat tour, folks, do it, because that was money very, very well spent. After that, we kind of chilled out at the hotel pool for a bit before heading back into town for another dinner. And while we were kind of out exploring the night before, we kind of found this one temple along the Chao Phraya, which was really beautiful, and it was called Yan Nawa Temple, Wat Yan Nawa. And at the back of this temple, at the back of the temple along the river, they had this little spot to feed the catfish that were in the river. And apparently, feeding the catfish in the river can bring you a happy life. Now, if all it takes for a happy life is to feed catfish, I'm all in. So we did. Then, seriously, the best any of us can really hope for is a happy life, ain't it? And but it was kind of fun feeding the catfish, because there were like these thousands of catfish that know they're getting fed, right? And their mouths are opening it, closing at the top of the water, and they're just milling about. And my wife thought it kind of looked like a disgusting scene, but it was real interesting. That was real fun as well. I'd never fed catfish like that before. So with any luck, 2026 will be a happy life for all of us. But that second night in Bangkok, we had amazing food at this place that had no doors, no windows. They might have had shutters, I'm not sure, but it looked like they cooked everything on carts. It was street food. It was street food on, again, pronunciation, Charoen Krung Street. Charoen Krung Street is apparently real famous for street food. So we found this little spot that looked to be the business. So we sat down at this stainless steel table. Again, it is nothing fancy at all. Much cheaper than other restaurants as well. But holy smokes, the food was great. And the staff were real characters. They had real personality. Like, they're shouting this, that, and the other. They're going, "Can we get spicy?" This going, "Yeah." It's a really fun dining experience. I had this tom yum goong that was by far the best I've ever had. There were just so many different flavors in there. Like there was nuts, there was seafood, there was, I think, chicken. There was even the soup had different flavors to it. It was wild how they put that together. It was really incredible food. Um, but my oldest boy had a gapao rice that was so spicy. He looked like the top of his head was going to come off. But he didn't even ask for it spicy. We're not sure if gapao rice is always that spicy or not, but his sure was. He had that look on his face. You know when somebody's bitten into like a ghost pepper or something, and they just look like they're in pain and suffering through? Well, that's how he looked. Much to the amusement of the rest of us at the table. Also, while we were in Bangkok, my wife and boys got to do some shopping. You know, they're out buying the kind of knockoff soccer shirts and stuff like that. So everybody was happy. Then it was off to Koh Phangan after one more night at that gorgeous Shangri-La hotel. Now, while we're traveling this leg of the trip, taxi from the hotel to the airport, and while we're waiting in the departure lounge of the Bangkok airport, my Aussie friend, oh my lord, while we're in the departure lounge in Bangkok, waiting to go to Koh Samui was so funny. Let me tell you a little travel story and a story about minding your surroundings. I can't remember why, but for whatever reason, my Aussie friend started telling a story about how an old Japanese girlfriend of his tried to trick him back into their relationship after they'd broken up. Now, my Aussie friend speaks in a rather loud teacher's voice. And we're in the departure lounge, remember? He's sitting across from me. We're on the departure lounge benches. There are people immediately behind us and things like that. Anyway, he's telling this story of a pregnancy. How his ex-girlfriend was pregnant by him. And he had to go meet her Yakuza parents. And he was promising them that he was going to do the right thing. He was not going to marry the girl because he didn't love her. But he was going to be a father to the child. He's going through all the nitty-gritty details of this situation. And unfortunately, he comes to the part in the story where the pregnancy had to be terminated because it was an ectopic pregnancy. And then he only, a few weeks later, he somehow found out that it was all a ruse. And he goes through this whole tale that the whole thing had been faked, an elaborate fake. He's telling he's away with this story when suddenly he looks immediately over my left shoulder. His eyes widen and he says, "You speak English, don't you?" Then an Indian man's voice says, "That sounds like it was a very interesting experience." Well, all of us, oh my God, we just died laughing at that. I mean, that Indian guy's timing was perfect. For this podcast, that Indian guy, he actually asked me to call him that Indian guy. Well, that Indian guy's timing was perfect. Oh my God, that sounds like it was a very interesting experience. A little later, as we're still sitting in the lounge, a baby started crying. And then he turned back at us, looked at my Aussie friend, and he just says, "Hey, I hear a baby crying." Pure comedy gold in the departure lounge in Bangkok. It was awesome. I'm telling you, folks, the people you meet when you are out in the world are a lot of fun, aren't they? Oh, man. It was really nice to meet you, that Indian guy. Right, so From Bangkok, it's a short flight to Koh Samui. I'll always love that mostly outdoor airport. Koh Samui is a very interesting, unique airport. Again, most of it's outdoors. It's awesome. From Koh Samui, we took a speedboat to Koh Phangan. Then, from the pier in Koh Phangan, we had a bit of a drive from Tong Sala Pier to our resort. We were staying at the Vani White Sands in Had Rin. And even that drive was fun. It was all just so, again, it was all just so different from Hokkaido. And we were all just kind of piled into the back of a Songtao, a Songtao taxi. No seatbelts, luggage just chucked all in on the floor. The driver just shouts back in a couple of spots to, hold on! Awesome. We have nothing like that here in Japan. But on the way, it was a very, very hilly coastline. And to be honest, I couldn't help thinking it would be an amazing place for a bike ride. But with the chaos of the driving on the roads, I think I'd rather not. But the tropical scenery of the place as we were driving through was just, of course, gorgeous. And in case you didn't know this, it's located in the Gulf of Thailand. So, we get to the resort and we just kind of started beach life. Beautiful. We chilled out a lot. We were in and out of the pools. We were in and out of the Gulf. We relaxed a lot during the day. I mean, in a place like that, why not? Take the time to chill out by the resort pool. On an island like that, take life easy. We're away from the chaos and rules and structure of Japanese life. So I was just super stoked to just chill out, surrounded by the natural beauty of the island. It was refreshing. But at night, Had Rin was a lot of fun. The fire shows on the beach were great. And the fire dancer, the fire show guys, they even let us have a go at a couple of them. That was awesome. And of course, there were beers and more great food. And the full moon party at New Year's, which wasn't actually a full moon, but it was awesome. There were 30,000 people on that beach. And over that party and our time on Koh Phangan, again, it was meeting all the people from all over the world that made it all just extra special. We met an awesome family from Norway. We met Canadians. We met English people. We met Israelis. Forgive me, but I actually never realized what party animals, absolute party animals, the Israelis were. Wow, those guys, they go hard. And there were a lot of Israelis on Koh Phangan for New Year's. I don't know why I was surprised at that. It's just something I wasn't expecting. I was surprised at how many Israelis there were. And it was especially really cool watching my boys on the beach. Much earlier on New Year's Eve, they were kicking around a soccer ball on the beach, just the two of them. Then someone joined them. Then another. Then before you knew it, they were playing with this huge group of young people, just having a kickabout on the beach. They were hanging out with Spanish, Irish, German youth, you name it. And it was so cool to see because they were communicating well, just obviously having a blast hanging out with all the young people from around the world. And folks, that carried right on until midnight. As a parent, you kind of always worry about them, but seeing my two boys just thriving in that global environment taught me a very, very valuable lesson. Since they've both gone off to university, yeah, maybe I've I've definitely missed them. Maybe I've been hanging on a little bit too much. But the lesson I kind of really learned from watching how they conducted themselves with other people and seeing how good their English actually was, I got to let them go. I got to let them go and not worry about them at all, because those two, they are just more than ready for the world. It was fantastic to see, and I couldn't be prouder of them. But I suppose I kind of had to see that up close and in such a foreign place to really understand it. Again, as a parent, you've got an image of your children in your mind, and they might be forever 4 years old or whatever, right? Well, this trip kind of shattered that for me. Don't forget, folks, as parents as well, this is all no matter how old your kids get, this is your first time, you being this age. This is all your first go around with all of this as well, right? And this is all the first go around of all of this for me as a dad, right? So, yes, awesome, a great time. And yes, folks, that New Year's party, that full moon party of New Year's was fantastic. There were just amazing fireworks at midnight. It was just an incredible vacation had by all. Thank you forever for that, my mad Aussie friend, and a huge thank you to all of you out there that we met along the way. I feel richer for having made your acquaintance. All right. Woo! What a vacation. All right, 2026. Good luck. Have fun out there, folks. Love ya.
サイクリング北海道